Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the It Takes a Village podcast. I'm Ashley, your host. This is where the struggles are real, the callings are heavy, the kids are sticky. We come together because it takes a village, and this is your tribe. Hey friends, what's up? Today's Wednesday and I'm excited to share with you guys another episode. Today I'm hanging out with Lisa Druxman. She is the founder of Fit for Mom, the country's largest fitness program for women, with programs such as Stroller Strides, Fit for Baby, and Body Back, which I'm sure you've at least heard of one of those. Stroller Strides for sure. Lisa is a noted speaker, author, and podcaster, and she is here bringing all the goods. I hope you guys are really excited about this because I'm really excited about this for you to listen in. We're talking about how we can put our mask on first, our oxygen mask. How do you make the most of your time? How to get things done instead of just thinking maybe this day, someday, when this happens, I will do that. You know, those sort of phrases that we always say. And also letting go of mom guilt. And this is just a few of the things because I'm trying to keep this intro short. So I'm really excited for you guys to tune in, listen in, and I hope you guys get something or feel fired up from what she has to say, or maybe encouraged, or just, man, like whatever it is you're looking for today, I hope that you find it here. So let's dive in. Hey, Lisa, I'm super excited to have you on the It Takes a Village podcast today, especially because I've seen your fitness groups, Stroller Strides around the town, all over. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to get into your story today. But before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and let you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what life kind of looks like right now.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here. My name is Lisa Druxman, and I am the chief founding mom of Fit for Mom. Fit for Mom is the largest fitness program for moms across the country. We offer Fit for Baby, Stroller Strides, Body Back. We have almost 2,000 class locations across the country. I am the host of the Empowered Mama podcast and have a book by the same name. And whether it's our classes or my books or speaking engagements, everything that we do is all about helping moms find the strength in motherhood.
And I love your podcast so much. And I'm excited about your book. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So I wanted to ask you, you had written that about the empowered mama, that it's the definition of empower is to make someone stronger and more confident. What do you think it is that holds us back from doing what we love and from feeling strong, and from like where did we get lost along the way? Where did it all go?
Well, I think that part of it is that we all are wearing that busy badge and that we need to take it off. And I don't think I know any mom who hasn't heard that she's supposed to put her own oxygen mask on first. Yeah. But the reality is that she just doesn't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. Over 70% of moms today are working. And so when you consider that being a mom alone is a full-time job and takes every bit of your energy, and then women are working on top of that, women are just trying to figure out how to juggle it all. And so I believe so much in the power of moms. I believe that moms truly are leading the next generation of leaders. And I know as a mom myself, and from coaching thousands of women, that our kids might not always listen to what we say, but they do eventually model what we do. Yeah. So I believe there is a great gift in that as a mom, and that's why I want to do anything I can to help women take better care of themselves, not just their health, but their spirit, because that is how we're going to teach our kids to do the same.
Well, and as a busy, successful woman that you are, I know that one of your most common questions, or the statement that you probably hear the most, is like, how do you do it all? And so we all know that nobody is perfect, and we all have the same amount of time in our days. And we legitimately can't do it all, even if we try.
Correct.
But as someone who is being pulled in many directions, how do you make the most of your time?
Well, I believe that you can do anything you want. You just can't do everything that you want, at least not at the same time. Yeah. So I really teach moms, and this is how I lead my own life, is to first get into touch with what my values are and make sure that I'm living in alignment with those values. For instance, if I say that my top values are health and family, but I'm not taking care of my health and I'm not taking care of my family, then I'm out of alignment. So as long as you first get clear on what do you want your life to look like and feel like? You can then build the strategy after that. I think for moms to really live a life where they focus on doing what's most important to them. And so it's like every single day prioritizing and putting in the big rocks. And most of what's on your to-do list is not actually tied to what's really important to you. And I think that we need to all figure out what our own, what I call minimum effective dose of self-care is. It might not be perfect, but at least that you get in what you need to maintain a foundation of health and a foundation of happiness. I think that makes a world of difference. Yeah.
Has it always been easy for you to kind of navigate?
I'm not even letting you get that question out, and I'm already laughing at it. It's definitely not. Everything that I teach is because of the mistakes that I've made and the lessons that I learned. I started my business because I wanted to be a mom first and foremost.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was going to take off and become this fast-growing national company.
Yeah.
And with that, I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared as a mom, and I wasn't prepared as an entrepreneur. I wasn't showing up as the person that I wanted to be. I felt like I was never doing a good enough job at work. I felt like I was never doing a good enough job in my home life, and I definitely was not taking care of myself. And so that was when I really put a line in the sand and said things need to change. And I created a new plan for myself, and that is really what the Empowered Mama is all about, is what I learned and how I do it. And I do want to reiterate what you mentioned. There is no perfect. I'm not sitting here in lotus position and namaste. Like there is no perfect. And we live in this really interesting time with social media, and you see everybody's highlight reel and their filtered pictures and they're perfectly lit, like that is the highlight reel. That is not people's reality. Yeah. And so I think that all of us moms need to be more real with each other, that it's messy. It's messy every single day. But I actually really do believe that I found that secret to balance, because everybody asks for that. And the secret is that you first do your self-care. You first take care of yourself, and then what's going to fall off is maybe social media or email. The average American is spending 8 hours a day combined with TV, social media, and email.
It's insane.
It's insane. So when you tell me that you have no time, no, just aren't prioritizing that time. So I prioritize that time based on my self-care, my work, which is one of my most important things, my family, which is one of my most important things, and that is both my marriage and kids separately, because I think that it's different.
Yeah.
And then I choose what's not going to fit onto the schedule.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy for us to get lost in the black hole that is social media. I find myself, and even today, I think that when I go to post something, because I have this podcast, and that's how I share about this podcast, is by sharing my life and why I created what I do. And so today, even when I went to go post a picture, I was just thinking like, oh, I could post this really nice picture about, and write some inspirational quote or like yada, yada, yada. But then I really went into today, like, I was like, what am I struggling with? Like, I can't pretend like I want to say, do this and do that. And then like today, I just feel really crummy. Like the enemy is just getting to me today. And so that's what I wrote about. And I put it out there and I set my phone down and I was like, walk away, but, and I think that, I think that kind of the idea is the same that you said, like, there's so many other women. I don't want to add to that fire, like be the fuel to the fire of women feeling like, oh man, if I had her life, it just looks so easy for her. It's so easy, and because that's just, I feel like if I could tell, like, be on the other side of the screen to the, the women that were looking at my feed, I would not want them to feel that way. Like other screens, or other feeds make me feel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
it's a catch-22 situation in our industry, because we do use social media to build our following. The bigger, the bigger our following is, the more impact we can have for whatever our message is. The reality with, let's say, Instagram is that the ones with the pretty feeds are who gets the followers.
Yes. Yep.
So you have to find that right balance of, okay, it's a pretty feed, but maybe like for me, I really tried to show my real life in the story.
Yeah.
And, show your sink full of dishes and like, show the chaos. And it's, again, it's also challenging because I don't want to see people complaining. I don't think that that serves anybody,
Right.
but just to be real,
Mm-hmm.
it's messy. Life's messy. That's all it
Yep.
is. It's messy.
Yep. Yep. I completely agree. I wanted to ask you, like we're talking about right now, a lot of our common phrases as mothers, as women, is that because we are so bad of prioritizing or putting ourselves first, we always say stuff like, one day I'll do this, or someday I'll get to that. Like, were you ever, how did you move from, like, in a concrete way that people can say, okay, this makes sense to me? How did you move from a someday, wish I could, maybe then I'll do this, to like, I'm doing this, this is what I'm doing?
Someday is not on any calendar.
Mm.
And I really do my best. Again, not perfect. Just want to
Right.
put that out there. I really do my best to live as I one day want my kids to live.
Mm.
I want them to stress less. I want them to create more joy in their every single day. I want them to see that you can have a career that you love, that has a positive impact on society, that can be sustainable. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to see that you can work hard but still enjoy your life. Like, I'm not going to wait till my kids are out of school or gone to college for them to see this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the only life that I know of.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to wait. There's no guarantees for tomorrow ever. So I'm very much about living the best for this day. In fact, even forget about like years from now. I think that we live too much for weekends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what day is today that we're recording this? It's Tuesday. I had to think about it.
I was like,
It's
wait a minute,
Tuesday,
don't
but like
put me on the spot.
I want my Tuesday to be great. I want my
Yeah.
Wednesday to be great. I want my Thursday to be great. Doesn't mean that there's not hard work,
Mm-hmm.
but like I want everyone to be able to find joy in each day, to find health in each day, to find human connection in every day, not to live for weekends and then to live for weekends only so you can binge watch on Netflix. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, I love Netflix and have some series I like, but like, this is our life. I want us to
Mm-hmm.
live it.
Mm. Yeah, that's so true. And I've just started thinking about it that way. I didn't realize how much it changes your perspective when you think about, oh, I've got Monday. How many more days till Friday? Like, and you're just counting down, and then you wait till the weekend, and the weekend goes, and then you're like, and then Monday comes around and you just hate it. And it's really not for any reason other than you've convinced yourself that the weekend is awesome and the week sucks.
Yes.
For all these moms that are listening, a lot of working moms who feel the guilt of not being able to do like the PTA things and all the things at school, do you like struggle with that same guilt now, even though, obviously you're prioritizing all these things? Like, what do you do when those moments come up where you feel that either comparison or that mom guilt? And what makes those meetings and those little things seem less important in the grand scheme of things?
Well, it's taken a long time, but I've really done my best to let go of mom guilt. It's
Mm-hmm.
not serving me. It's not serving anyone. I'm very careful about what I say yes to. I love the
Mm-hmm.
saying that if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no.
Mm,
I think that most women today say yes to too much.
yeah.
Just because you can does not mean you should. And so, like, when it came time to, let's say, volunteering at my kids' school, I knew as a full-time working mom that, I would never be the room mom. I probably wasn't even going to be the mom to volunteer every week, but I could maybe share a volunteer spot where every other week I would go in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was careful to say yes to what was going to have the biggest impact for my family. So, like, my kids wanted me to be in the class, not to
Mm-hmm.
be the mom who brings papers home to grade.
Yeah.
So I'm careful about what I say yes to. I do what I can, but I don't do everything that I can,
Mm,
because it doesn't serve anybody if I feel too full.
yeah.
And I feel like there's different seasons for life where, I don't spend a ton of time with friends, but like once my kids go away to college, like I am absolutely, I think, going to be rekindling a lot more time for that. So I have lots of time for charity and for different things at different seasons of my life. For now, it's at just kind of a more minimum level.
Yeah. I think that's a really smart way to look at things too. And something that I remind myself of is that that my life is in seasons. Like I didn't expect to be here 10 years ago doing a podcast, or trying to balance the things that I'm balancing now. And then 5 years from now, it'll look completely different and I'll have to figure out the flow of everything. And then, it goes on and on and on. And I think that sometimes we don't look at it like that way. We look at it like this is how it's going to be forever, or or like if I don't do, I don't know. I think we just get caught up in our own minds sometimes with the things that aren't
really I want all of your listeners right now to just start paying attention. Realize how many things you say yes to every single day. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how many opportunities there are. We just do it without even thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So from now on, I just want you to really give yourself some pause before you say yes. Your life is already full. None of you, I know not a single one of your listeners, I don't think, are just sitting on the couch eating bonbons all day long. Yeah. My guess is everybody's life is full. Mm-hmm. So when there is an opportunity to say yes to something, realize what are you going to say no to create space for that. I believe a lot in pruning, especially at springtime when we're recording this. So thinking about like, if you want to have your best blossoms on your rose bush, you had to prune earlier in the year. Yeah. What are you going to prune from your life to give yourself space for the most beautiful roses?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to figure out. And be honest with yourself about what you really need to be doing and what you don't need to be doing and what your priorities are, especially if you haven't sat down with yourself and been like, okay, self, what the heck am I doing? Like, it's tough. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, what do you think that your biggest struggle as a mom has been so far? And you have teens, so
I have teens. I have an almost 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. Oh my gosh. I think the biggest struggle is, and I'm always sad to say it, but is to being truly present with them, whether it's a few minutes or full time. We live in a very distracted world, especially if you work and especially with our phones. And so, and even on their side, like you have teenagers where they're constantly digitally distracted. Mm-hmm. So truly being present is, I think, one of the biggest struggles right now.
Yeah. What do you do to connect with your kids?
A lot. I mean, it's a constant thing that I'm putting energy into. Mm-hmm. So a few things. I mean, I know what each of my kids' 5 languages of love are. If you've ever read that book, if you haven't, go to 5languagesoflove.com. And I do my best to give love as they most like to receive it. So like if somebody's is touch, then to make sure they get hugs. If somebody's is words of affirmation, to leave them a note. So that's one thing. I feel like the answer to everything is time. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's the answer of what you need for yourself. It's what you need for your marriage, and it's what you need for your kids. Mm-hmm. So I do my best to schedule one-on-one time with each kid. I go golfing with my son, even though I really don't golf and don't even like to golf, but he really likes it. And so that ends up being, 5 hours alone together out in nature where there's connection. My daughter and I love to go to the beach or go shopping, like just making sure that I've got time and I'm proactive about time with each one of them. It's super important to me.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is that you can't buy time. And
correct.
Yeah, it's just so hard. You have to, like you said, and it's something that you've blogged about and talked about is, just making things a priority. And I feel like we're reiterating that like a bajillion times right now, but it's honestly the truth. I wanted to ask you, what is something that you're obsessed with right now?
That's a good question. I am obsessed right now with, I don't even know if you could say there's something to be obsessed with, but my thoughts. I am obsessed right now with the idea that my thoughts create my reality. And how are my thoughts holding me back? And I've spoken about this for years, and everyone's read about it for years, that, we think 30 to 60,000 thoughts a day. 98% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you've thought the day before. We keep repeating the same thoughts, and our brains are programmed to the negative. I've been aware of that for a long time.
Mm.
What I am really starting to become aware of is, am I really creating thoughts that create the destiny and result that I want, and how to turn those around? That is, I'm obsessed with it right now.
So what's the answer?
The answer is one to first just, I mean, the little voice inside our head is constantly speaking, right?
Yes.
It never stops.
All the time.
All the time. And so the first step is to just start to become aware of it and to just be listening to that voice, okay? And so aware of, is that really true, that thought that you might have? Is that thought serving me? And if it is not, which again, most of the time it's not, is you need to actually create a do-over thought. You need to create a new thought in its place. And that's the hard part. But it's the same thing of, if I'm going to use the metaphor of like, the first time somebody goes through a dense forest, like it's hard and they're cutting everything down and it's hard to make through that trail.
Mm-hmm.
But the more people who keep going through it, that trail becomes easier. And that is the same thing with our brain. The first time we're making a new thought, it's hard. But if we keep doing that, it starts to become more natural till it's just an automatic connection in the brain. Mm-hmm. And I can just only imagine if all of us created thoughts that were positive, empowering, and that we believed in ourselves. Because if you look at the most successful people in the world, I mean, I don't know, usually every time I ask that in a speech, everybody says Oprah. So they're talking about Oprah or Tony Robbins or whomever you think of as a successful person. I see it as that they have two things, all of them have two things in place. One is beliefs. They actually believe in themselves and they believe in the possibility. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is the habits to back those beliefs up. Mm-hmm. So that's where I start with the thoughts is, am I really creating thoughts that I'm taking 100% responsibility for? Because I think that's going to lead to my destiny.
Yeah, that's really good.
Is that kind of out there? I'm so
No,
sorry.
No, that was really good. No, but it's true though, because as moms and as everybody's listening, like we are the hardest. I feel like we are the hardest on ourselves than anybody else on the planet is, because we just hold ourselves to this unachievable standard, and we have it. And it's there in our minds every day, reminding us that we can't reach it, that we didn't reach it, that we're not good enough, that we're this, that we're that, and if you could look inside a mom's brain, I am sure that it would just be like I don't know, like in the ring of a boxing match is what it would look like on the daily, just getting beat up because we are so tough on ourselves.
Absolutely. And we would never speak to our children the way we speak to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that might be, a way to guide that inner voice is how would you speak to your small child who you believe anything is possible for?
I just did a blog post on that actually. Because it was something. I don't remember what made me think of it, but maybe it was me just being in the moment of one of those days where I'm just shooting myself down, and then I think maybe my husband was the one who was like, "Well, would you say that to Brinley, like who is our daughter?" And I was like, "Well, no." And he's like, "Well, would you want her to think those things?" I'm like, "Well, no." and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing. I'm telling her like, you can do anything, and try again. If you fall back, if you fall, get back up again." And here I am telling myself the exact opposite things, which makes no sense. So of course, me being the way that I process my thoughts is I had to write about it. So
absolutely. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And then when we're not perfect, we throw in the towel. And I think a better way to realize is we will always be off track. That is human nature. Yeah. When a plane flies from one side of the country to the other, there's not a perfect track that gets them there. They're off track like 90% of the time. They just keep adjusting. Yeah. And I just want all of us, no matter what you're going after in life, I don't care if it's a work thing, a parenting thing, a self-care thing, to just go, okay, here's my goal, here's my destination, here's where I'm trying to get to, And I'm constantly going to be off track because that is the journey. And
Mm.
you just keep readjusting. Like,
Yeah.
when you put your GPS in and you take a street off, right? Which I do that all the time. Apparently not very good at following GPS. And it's constantly saying rerouting, rerouting.
Yes,
And it's
yeah.
like, you don't throw in the towel and not go there. You just
Mm.
reroute, just
That's so true.
adjust.
That's so true. Every time my GPS says rerouting, I'm gonna be like, Amen.
That's right. And I'm
Story of
just
my
getting
life.
back on course.
That's hilarious. Yes. Also, I wanted to ask you, what is something that is time sucking your life right now that you wish that wasn't?
Ugh, always email and social media.
Yeah.
I think I've become a master at email. I am pretty damn good at like getting through it and getting to inbox zero.
Mm,
But my life is not email, and that is not where the magic happens.
yeah.
So the less time I spend in email, the better. And social media, like we talked about, I think can be very positive. I think it can be a gift, but I think it is also wasting our lives. So
Mm,
I use a timer a lot. Like it might sound a little bit crazy, but I use a timer both when I'm on social media and on email so that I say I've got a allotted amount of time.
mm-hmm.
I get in, I get it done, and I get out. And when you have a timer on, it actually sets your brain to realize it needs to be focused and productive. So you're able to
Mm.
get it done in a more efficient way when you know that you can't just sit there as long as you want.
Yeah. I've actually heard, I think it was on a podcast I was listening to by John Lee Dumas. I think he's the one that he sets his
Parkinson's law.
Yes, where is
Yes.
he's the one that sets it like for 45 minutes or something, and then you take a break for 15, and then he'll do another 45 or something
Yes.
along the lines. Mm.
Productivity nerds like me, I can go on for a long time about this. It's called Parkinson's law. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that's
okay.
the one, where like it's amount. I want to make sure I'm not mixing philosophies up, but I think that's the one. That you are going to use the time allotted for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you gave yourself all day to be on email, you'd use all day, right? And so by giving yourself a specific period of time, you're going to be most efficient and to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the technique John Lee Dumas is talking about is Pomodoro technique, which is giving yourself a certain amount of time of work, certain amount of time of breaks. And whether you use their exact formula or just do it on your own, it is 100% important because your brain uses glucose just like muscles, and you would never expect your muscles to just keep working, working, working.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give it a break and refuel. And to refuel your brain, you could actually eat. You could actually give yourself glucose, or you can do something like daydreaming or resting.
Yeah. You guys, you could actually sleep.
Isn't that amazing?
It sounds so strange. You're like, you could actually eat. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, how many times have I sat at this computer and then looked at the time and it's already time to go pick up my kids from school and that's 3:00 and I didn't eat anything. I was also going to ask you, I love your podcast and I'm really excited to see how it grows and all the guests that you have on are amazing. Who has been your most memorable or influential guest so far?
Oh, wow. There are so many good ones. I really got a kick. The two that just like jumped in my head when you said that are Tiffany Dufu, who wrote the book Drop the Ball. Mm-hmm. She is amazing. That is a book that all of you want to read if you are a mom who feels like you're doing too much. She is so awesome. And Gretchen Rubens from the Happiness Project. Mm-hmm. I really, really just felt, oh God, I loved every minute of getting a chance to talk to them. And probably one of like my most influential and like most listened to podcasts that we ever had was when Jillian Michaels was on the show. And she really gave such a very unique perspective on things because she considers herself to be more the father role. Mm-hmm. If you could assign it that in her partnership with her partner. And, so she gave a different perspective and it was like, oh, wow, I can't believe she said that. But that was a pretty good show. Lots of fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love that there are so many different places that women can kind of listen to and fill themselves up with whatever they need to hear. Because I just love that about podcasts. There's literally a podcast for everybody and everything, and it's awesome.
Yes. I mean, if you are a donut maker, there's probably a podcast for
Oh,
you.
I'm sure. Yeah. Ooh, that I should not listen to that. I was like, that would sound really good, but then I had to remind myself I couldn't eat a podcast donut. So, okay, so I want to ask you the last three questions that I have for you
Yes.
today. If you could choose one of the most influential books that you've read, what would it be?
Well, if you've been listening to my podcast, you know I'm kind of obsessed with learning and books. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know if I could ever pick just one book. It really, when people ask me that, it depends on what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for just success principles in general, or if you're looking for motherhood. So one of them I mentioned was Tiffany Dufu's Drop the Ball. I think that is an excellent one, especially for moms. If you're looking for just kind of general success ones, I love High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. I love Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Um, One of my favorites, and it's funny because I had already been practicing it for so long on my own, but it was like it confirmed for me, is Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Great
Mm.
book. So I wasn't really good at giving you one.
No, that's good. I've heard a lot about that one, and I've actually heard that now there is a version for kids that I'm really interested in about too. I guess it was created based off the fact of like this mom was doing the miracle morning and her kids started seeing her and her husband doing it and they wanted to do that. And so then they started making up their own version for their children. And then Howell found out about it and was like, "Why don't you like help me create this book for kids?" And
That's brilliant.
yeah, so now there's a kid version, and I'm like, "This sounds awesome."
I know, like so my husband and I both do Miracle Morning. And like I said, I've in a sense been practicing it for many years without knowing that that's what he would call it.
Yeah.
Um, but like even today, this morning, I was thinking with my own kids, you know, they're just grumpy teenagers in the morning.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, God, like your day would start so much better if you gave yourself some time for some of these types of practices. But
Hmm.
yeah, a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old are not super open to waking up earlier to journal or meditate or exercise. So I'd be very curious to learn more about that book. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, we have an 8-year-old, and she just turned 8, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, I keep reminding my husband, like, oh my gosh, she is halfway to 16. Like, this is not okay. We're not ready
Start
for this.
any of these things as early as you can before they
Yes,
start having attitude while they're still open to possibilities. Because then
that's
there's
true.
at this age, there's a bit of a block and they know it all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I always tell my husband, I'm like, if we need to hurry because they're going to turn out like me. My husband was a great teenager. I feel like I was the rebellious one. And so whenever our kids do something, he always looks at me and goes, times 10. And I'm like, I hate you. I hate you. Don't remind me. Anyways, what is your favorite type of self care? What is something that you do that really fills you up?
I know it probably my miracle morning. Like,
Mm.
this is going to sound so crazy, but I wake up at 4:30 every morning, which I know sounds awful,
Do you
but
go to bed like super early?
I do. You have to get the sleep. So I go to bed probably 9,
Oh my
9:30.
gosh.
Okay. I know. But it's like, trust me, if you start waking up at 4:30, you will go to bed at 9, 9:30 because
Well,
you're
yeah.
exhausted. So it's anybody who says they, can't go to bed that early, wake up that early for a few days and you will go to bed that early. So yes, I go to bed early, but I look forward to it because I have 1 hour to myself that is all about solitude, which I think that is really missing. Like people don't realize that that is absolutely important to most human beings. Um, Maybe not as much if you're an extrovert, but for me, I need some solitude. And in the morning, I have a ritual of journaling, meditating, doing affirmations, doing visualization, and some sort of exercise. Like it's my best hour, and there's coffee.
Yeah.
So it's my best hour of the day, for sure. I love it.
Okay. You're convincing me that maybe there is hope for me to wake up early.
30 days. Do it for 30 days.
Okay. And well, my struggle is that I'm a night owl. So like during the day, I'm kind of like slow, and then once my kids go down, my brain like turns on and I'm ready to go, but of course, that's the wrong time. Like it's the wrong timing. Everybody else is asleep. I need to be sleeping. And then
Well, no,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all have different circadian rhythms, so it is possible that yours are really truly set to be alive and wired and flow at night. Most people aren't, and most people, even if they are, waste the evening hours. It's more typical that that's when people are on social media and television and stuff like that. So if you wanted to do your morning, magical morning or whatever it's called, or your morning ritual in the evening, that'd be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just think that you need some time every single day to recharge yourself.
Yeah. And that's where the whole time slotting, like prioritizing and having your day down and knowing
Yeah,
what you're doing comes into play. Otherwise, you're trying to fit it in and you don't have time.
absolutely.
If you could empower women in one way, what would it be?
Um, Live like you one day want your kids to live.
Okay, well, that is the best advice. Like, I have no words. I'm like, that is so good. And you just like said it like you were talking to me.
I'm speaking to all moms, including myself.
Well, I'm so glad that I got to talk to you today. I know you're super busy, and I really appreciate you adding me into your time slot today. If everybody wants to search for you, look for your podcast, find where you are in all those places, where can they find you?
You can always go to fitformom.com. It's fit with the number 4mom.com. Or if you want to know specifically more about me, you can go to lisadruxman.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being on. I'm really glad that I got to talk to you.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you subscribe in your iTunes app, in your Spotify app, in your iHeart Music Radio app. We are in all the places. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you keep listening, and I hope to see you or catch you here back next Wednesday.